how you doing, YouTube and Facebook? I hope all is well. So I am Bernadette Henry of Make It Fun NYC, where I make jump rope and exercise as a whole more fun and exciting for anyone looking to live a healthy and active lifestyle. And today I'm going to be talking about jump rope and the knees. Is jump rope really bad for the knees? So I will be going live on Instagram with my guest. Hey, Angie. Angie, if possible, come on over to Instagram, okay? That's where you'll be able to interact, and that's where my guest actually is. He's actually on Instagram. So please come on over to Instagram at Make It Fun NYC, okay? He told me to give him about 5 minutes. So I just wanted to give my people on YouTube and Instagram a heads up. Come on Instagram so that you can watch, and you'll be there live. And I want to, get as many people on as possible. Show my guests, treat my guests special. Okay. So make sure y'all come on over to Instagram if you're watching on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. Okay. Especially to see my guest. My guest is here on Instagram, as well as you'll be able to ask questions. So I kind of will be ignoring TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, but you'll still be able to enjoy the content. Okay. Is jump rope bad for the knees? Boom. So let me just go on live real quick. There we go. Instagram getting my nerves, y'all. They always do this to me. Is jump rope bad for the knees? All right. So I look forward to this, and boom, there we go. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing? I hope that you are well. You are in for a special treat today. And the reason why I had to do this live was because I get questions every single day. Is jump rope bad for the knees? Or, oh my gosh, I want to jump rope, but my knees. Okay. And so I finally decided to bring in a doctor that I know, a doctor that I actually work with and have worked with for several years. Okay. So I'm just giving him a few minutes to get on. He said about 5 minutes or so. So I am just going to introduce myself. I am Bernadette Henry of Make It Fun NYC, where I make jump rope and exercise as a whole more fun and exciting for anyone looking to live a healthy and active lifestyle. Hey, Gorilla Fit. Hey, Lil Stacy. Hey, Ellen. Hello to everyone. Hey, Narav. Hello to everyone that is coming in. Our guest is going to be here very shortly. Hey, D Smart Training. How are you? Thank you to everyone that's coming. And today we're going to be talking about, hey, Sade, J. Cruz. Hello, hello, hello. I am so grateful for you all popping on. You are definitely in for a treat. And we're going to be talking about jump rope and the knees. Okay. So I have been jumping rope for the Detoxing Nurse. How are you? I have been jumping rope for many years. In addition to the years of jumping, I've gotten hit by a car when I was like, hey, Gorilla Fit, I got hit by a car when I was like 8 years old, broke my leg. You were told not to jump because of your weight. And I definitely agree with that. But like I said, the doctor is coming on. We're going to talk all about it, okay? I've been jumping rope for many years, since a kid, on and off. And like I said, I got hit by a car once before. And then, as you know, you have, hey, Dr. V, as you know, you have different athletes that all athletes, most athletes have some kind of issues. And here go our special guests. So as soon as I bring them on, I will reset the room. Well, not reset the room, but we're going to reset IG Live. All right, y'all? So they are coming in the room right now. So, hello, Dr. Jean. How are you?
Hi, everybody.
Good. So I am going to reset again. My name is Bernadette Henry of Make It Fun NYC, where I make jump rope and exercise as a whole more fun and exciting for anyone looking to live a healthy and active lifestyle. And today we're going to be talking about, is jump rope really bad for the knees? Okay. I have been posting videos online for many years, since about 2009. And I get that same age-old question every single day. Is jump rope bad for the knees? Okay. And when I come online, I give you general precautions. But before I get into all of that, let me introduce my guest. My guest is Dr. Jane. He is a physical therapist at Precision Care Therapy. I have been using their facility since 2018. As I told y'all before, I have been jumping ropes since a little girl. I get hit by a car when I was 8 years old. And I'm basically like, I consider myself an athlete. So as you go on, you have wear and tear, and you must do things to take care of yourself. So Precision Care Therapy has been the place that's been taking care of me for several years now. So Dr. Jane, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, first of all, obviously, you're the one that doesn't really need an introduction, but just a little bit about how we sort of came to know each other. You came into our office, with injuries throughout the time, but the first time that you came, we were very impressed with, what you can do with a jump rope. Also, more importantly, we were impressed with the impact that you have on your community and on all these people that you actually help get fit. That you motivate. So it's really incredible what you do. And honestly, like, we need more people like you. So I applaud you for everything that you do and your sort of, your way of doing it.
Thank you so much.
So yeah. So that's the first thing. And again, thank you for having me on. I think it's really awesome. And thanks for the opportunity to kind of to talk to you and talk to some of your followers and try to answer some questions and just help people out and talk about the benefits of exercise, the benefits of staying healthy, and the benefits of treating injuries early, and of course the benefits of recovery if you are working out. So just quickly about myself. I'm a physical therapist here with Precision Care Medical. I've been a PT since 2007. I've worked mostly in outpatient orthopedic practices. I worked in a arthritis osteoporosis group early on in my career. Then I spent 6 years in an orthopedic group practice where one surgeon was doing total joint replacements and the other surgeon was doing all types of sports medicine repairs. So and then coming into precision care. So I really do have an extensive sort of knowledge and extensive experience working with athletes and extremity injuries. So that's kind of my little thing. Personally, I actually, I used to train. I used to box when I was younger. So I also did a lot of jump roping. Not necessarily, at your level, but nonetheless, there was some jump roping that I was doing. And there are many benefits of jumping rope. So I knew I was getting on this, on live with you, and I wanted to talk about I pulled up some studies how, the benefits of jump roping, right? Because people often say, well, yes, I jump rope, but what are the implications? Like, how much pounding is it going to be on my knees? How much pain am I going to be in? What's the wear and tear? So, again, I have some studies that they've done with specifically jump roping, right? Because it's been an age-old thing. So there's a couple of things why jump roping is beneficial, right? We know that it's really good. It's a really good cardio, right? Mm-hmm. So I think I don't know the exact statistic, maybe you do, but there's an equivalent of how much jump rope you're doing versus how much running you're doing. Yes. And you need less jump roping time to more running time to get the same output, right?
So 10 minutes of jump rope is equivalent to a 30-minute jog on a treadmill at 6.5 miles an hour.
Isn't that insane? That's incredible, right? So if you're a busy person, you're pressed for time, you just want to get some cardio in. I mean, isn't that nice? You can just jump rope for 10 minutes as opposed to run for half an hour.
Right.
Like, to me, that's a win. So again, so it's quick, and there's a reason, right? There's a physiological reason that most people don't even think about. When you're running, you're using your legs, right? You're using your larger muscle groups to start to work and get blood flow to the heart. That's your cardiovascular exercise, right? You have your large quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, and you're pumping that blood through your body. Your blood is getting pumped. It's getting circulated. It's going through your heart, back into your extremities, and you're going, right? Now, the way for you to expedite cardio is if you actually use your arms, right? Mm-hmm. So in boxing, you have the speed bag, right? Speed bag is crazy cardio. Why? Because you're using your arms. It's fast twitch muscles that are doing the action. So you're getting much more blood flow to the heart in a faster rate. Now, think about the mechanics of jump roping, right? You're using your legs and you're using your arms. So you're getting that really quick push of cardio. You're really getting that high intensity workout in a very short duration of time. And that's why jump roping is super amazing and super effective. And again, 10 minutes versus 30 minutes. So us New Yorkers, 30 minutes is hard, but 10 minutes, we could all find 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's certainly that type of benefit. And then I also think that, there's ways, and I'm sure you probably talk about it many times, there's ways to jump rope that'll that'll be less impactful based on the shoes that you're wearing, right? And then the surface that you jump roping on.
Mm-hmm.
So, you could probably talk about that more than I can. You're the expert. So what would you say is important, like with shoes and surface?
So basically, the general precautions that I always give my followers for protecting their knees is wearing the correct shoes. So shoes that absorb shock, such as a running shoe or a cross trainer, to jump on the appropriate surface, of course, that absorbs shock, such as a rubber track surface or a wood floor. I also suggest only jumping high enough to clear the rope. Do not land hard on your toes or your feet. Do just enough. Like, don't go overboard. And like, make sure that your rope is sized correctly, because when your rope is sized correctly, you won't land so hard trying to jump after the rope is lagging. So these are usually the general precautions, and stop when you've had enough, Also through physical therapy, really learning that you need to strengthen the muscles, I call it the supporting cast of the knee, such as the quads, the hams, the hips, and the glutes, and those are the general precautions that I speak about all the time. Okay, so I have a few questions, right? Number one, how does jump rope affect the knees?
Okay, so good question. So affect in a positive or a negative way?
Let's go both.
Okay, so obviously positive way, right? So you're actually, your body is designed for these types of activities, right? Our knees are designed to absorb shock, right? Like, think about like our origins when we were hunter-gatherers, right? We weren't sitting in offices. We weren't doing the things that we do now. We were chasing our mammoths that we were throwing spears into. We were climbing trees. We were getting fruits to eat. We were jumping off trees. We were jumping off rocks. So we're biologically, we're built for that kind of activity, right? So you have cartilage in your knee, right? And that cartilage is essentially your cushion to absorb any shock. Now, that shock, it's not just the knee that's absorbing it. It's actually going through your ankle. You have absorption in your ankle. You have absorption in your hip, in your knee, and you have absorption in your hip. And then that same thing follows our spine. You have this between the vertebrae that allow you to absorb these types of forces. So jump roping is okay for your knees because your knees will tolerate that type of activity. So the negative implication, and as you mentioned before, if you're using, if you're on a harder surface, right? If you're doing it barefoot, if you're not using the right shoe, you're just adding extra stress on the knees. And obviously, mechanics are important, right? So you want to make sure your mechanics are right when you're jump roping. And then just to kind of go back on your point earlier, you need to do things to tolerate that activity, right? If you're built and strengthen your muscles around the supporting cast, if you built and stabilize your quads, if you build up your hamstrings, if you build up your calves, those muscles are also taking the impact and you're reinforcing the foundation. So with any activity, whether it's jump roping or even running, you should not just do that activity alone. You should do some strength training in between that activity at some point to some degree, just something.
Exactly. Number two, when is it the right time to seek medical care?
Okay, well, that's a great question. So obviously, like we're all very in tune with our bodies. If we all just kind of slow down for a second and listen, like your body will tell you when it's time to see medical care. The one thing that I could say for us as medical providers, it's much easier to treat injuries that are acute injuries, meaning if it just happens, right? So acute knee pain, acute back pain, acute foot pain, acute elbow pain, anything you could think of, it's much easier to treat acutely. Once it goes into the chronic state, when it's a longer duration of injury, it's a lot harder to treat. So if you have some kind of injury that's kind of a nagging injury, I kind of give it like this, like in my head, I'm always thinking about like a 6-day rule. And 6 because it's better than 7. I'm like, if nothing changes in 6 days, you should probably go see a doctor, right? And listen to your injury. If you have some kind of an injury, and let's say you say, well, let me just see what happens. And the next day, it's a little bit better than the first day. And then the following, better. It's progressively getting better. Then you're in a good place, right? If it's getting worse, then you should definitely seek attention. And if it's kind of steady, you should also seek attention. Don't wait too long. It'll be much better for you to address it as soon as you possibly can. Really, listen to your body and go as soon as you can.
Right. Are there any health-related issues as a result of jumping rope?
So healthy ones. So actually, this is a good time for me to jump in with some of the articles, right? So I mean, there's tons of research out there, but I gotta go. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna start with this interesting one that I read. So it's jump rope training, right? So it was basically balance and motor coordination in pre-adolescent players, right? So what they did was they actually made these soccer players jump rope as an activity, right? And then the interesting thing is, like, they found how effective it was for them. You know, they were actually getting much better performance. So they tested them. They were getting much better balance and coordination after the jump roping, right? So positive implication of jump rope, right? Then they did jump rope training, how it improved the 3-kilometer time trial in endurance runners, right? So think about that. Like, if you start to take running and you break it down, right? If you videotape somebody running and you do it in super slow motion, what they're really doing is they're just jumping. They're literally just jumping through the air. They're all jumps. And it's hard to kind of visualize it, but your gait cycle changes. When you're walking, you're spending 70% of the time on the ground and 30% like while your foot is swinging, right? When you're running, you're spending 10% of the gait cycle on the ground, 90% you're in the air. So you're basically just jumping, right? So obviously we know that if you're just going to do jumping as an activity, it's going to improve your speed, right? And then they have another one, which is interesting. They had the effects of rope or weighted jump rope training on strength, coordination, and proprioception in volleyball players. Again, positive outcomes. They were stronger. They were purposive. They were much better with balance. There's just so many positives of jump roping. The only negative thing I could think of is if you're obviously overdoing it. You know, any activity, if you're overdoing it, if you're not recovering, if you're not using the right shoes, if you're on the wrong surface, and if you have an injury and you keep pushing through it, that could lead to a negative implication. But if you're doing it correctly and if you're doing it how you're supposed to do, there's so many positives.
Right. And I actually read, through Buddy Lee, that jumping rope is actually a great rehab exercise. And it's been used in many patients for it.
Yeah, absolutely. The only challenge with that is that most people don't know how to jump rope.
Right.
So we've had challenges in our clinic, and it's you'd be surprised how many athletes don't know how to jump rope. For some reason, I find that men are worse than women. There may be different reasons for that as kids, but yeah, it's an amazing tool. So when we have those high functioning athletes, we incorporate jump rope into ankle rehab, into knee rehab, into hip rehab. We really do it a lot.
Right. And I totally agree, because I've been doing it for, some years, and I actually prefer it over running. I don't like running at all. And I take, the necessary precautions in addition to working with my medical providers. So I'm over 40. And I have a lot of, especially women over 40 or, men that's over 40 that follow me. And a lot of them ask, hey, can you do this? Can you do this safely? And I'm like, hey, look, yes, you can do this safely if you follow the precautions. And if you have medical issues, seek medical care, like work with your provider. I tell people this all the time because that's what I do. I to a degree, I tell people what's going on, but I work with my medical providers, to ensure that I can continue to maintain doing what I love, because not only is it good for me physically, but it's great for me mentally and emotionally. And I don't know where I would be without jumping rope.
Well, there's people ask this question, and we live in a very we're in an instant gratification society.
Right.
We want things fast and we want them yesterday. But the reality is that you have pain, you have this, you have that. We're used to taking medication. The best form of medication, and you could ask any sports doctor, the guy that's in charge of HSS, the main sports doctor at HSS, he's written books about it. The best medicine that you could ever have for every condition you could think of, physical and mental, is exercise, right? So there's so many benefits of exercise that we could spend 2 hours talking about all the benefits of exercise, right? And again, like you said before, it is the best thing you can do. There's so many benefits of it. If you don't like to run, jump rope. If you don't like to jump rope, run. Do something. Do some kind of exercise. It is really the best thing. It'll keep you out of doctor's offices long term.
Right.
And I have a question for you. This is interesting, right? So, because you brought up a point, people don't know when to start, like pre-existing conditions, right? So because there is a cardio component to jump roping, right? You're going to get your heart rate up. Like, is your heart ready for that kind of exertion, right? So that's something to kind of think about.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on someone that's starting out? Perhaps instead of kind of doing the 10 minutes of jump rope, to kind of qualify for the 30 minutes of running, perhaps doing intervals, right? Like maybe a minute of jump rope and then rest, a minute of jump rope rest, or 3 minutes of jump rope rest. I know when I started jumping rope when I was boxing, everything is done in a 3 minute round. So I would jump for 3 minutes, when I learned how to jump. After I learned how to jump, I jumped for 3 minutes, right? And then I would rest for 30 seconds, right? And then one guy came up to me, he's like, hey, why don't you just not rest? And I said, oh, okay. So I tried. And then the first time it was like, I don't know, 6 minutes, whatever I got to. And I built up to that, continuing jump roping for 15 minutes straight without resting, but it took me a while to get there. Right. So what are your thoughts on actually jumping, resting, doing an interval type of training with the rope?
This is actually what I do every day. So what I do is I do 10 sets of 100 jumps every day. That's my base workout.
Amazing.
Because number one, it only takes about 35 to no longer than 40 seconds to do a set of 100 jumps. Number one. Number two, I'm getting that rest in between. And number three, it takes about 8 to 10 minutes and I'm getting my rest in between. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my joints and things like that. Now, when I'm doing the other things, fine. And what I tell people, especially that's starting out, I always say, you progress to 100. So week one, do 3 to 5 days a week, 4 sets of 25. And then next week, go to like 3 to 5 days a week, 2 sets of 50. And then go to like 75 and then progress to that 100. But I'll always tell people the goal is to try to get to 10 sets of 100 jumps because that can get you at least a 10-minute workout with the rest period.
Right. And this way, like if you build up the cardiovascular capability to do that.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Do you wear any kind of like technology, like wearables to monitor your heart rate, your pulse, etc.?
I don't. The ones that I have broke, but jump rope and just even in that 30 seconds will take my heart rate to like 170.
Okay. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, there's so many benefits. My gosh. So after this interview, I'm going to jump rope.
I actually did this morning, so I have to figure out which exercise I'm gonna do tonight. Right. So for those of you that's on here live, if you have questions, there's not a box, but a little question box at the bottom of the screen. There's already 7 questions there. So if you have a question, put them in the box. So we're gonna start to go through the questions. So
and then if anybody like has anything that they if they haven't asked a question, if something comes up, they can always reach out to on Precision Care. We have a page so they can ask any questions they want. If they need any advice with anything, if they are obviously if they don't live in New York and they're looking for some other help, we really try to make ourselves accessible to lots and lots of people with this. So you don't have to be a patient to have our attention. Like I promise you, it's purely genuine. If you have any questions, any injury questions, rehab questions, just anything at all, reach out. We really answer pretty much everyone. We get to it as fast as we can, but we do get to everyone's questions and anything else like that. So, or suggestions or recommendations, referrals. We're pretty good about that stuff. So yeah, that's for all your followers. They have that and they can just do it. It doesn't expire.
Yes, and Instagram is actually how I came into contact with Precision Care. Believe it or not.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty good about it from the beginning.
And the great thing I love about Precision Care is that there is a doctor on site. So you don't have to go to a medical doctor, get a referral, come and then start your care. You can actually see a doctor on site as well as get your treatment on site. So
yeah, we have a physical medicine rehabilitation doctor in our practice here in Brooklyn. We also have a location in Manhattan on 55th Street with a physical medicine and pain rehabilitation doctor. They're both pain interventionalists. So they could basically do anything orthopedic aside from orthopedic surgery. Whether it's diagnosing, referring to therapy, or doing any kind of like joint or pain injections, they really do it all. If it's something out of their scope of practice, we refer out to. We try to work with really like the best doctors in the city and Long Island as well. So we really send the patients based on what their preference is, where they live, where they want to go see, and we send patients to doctors that like I've sent my family to. It's just we try to work with the best doctors. So that's just how we operate. So anyway, so whatever you guys need, we're happy to help.
Amazing. We have a question here. How would you suggest someone with flat feet find a good shoe to jump run in?
That's a great question. So okay, I'm gonna go on a little tantrum here. Okay, I'll try to be fast. So really, like having a flat foot, right, is unfortunately it's one of those things that it's a bad card to be dealt. But it's something that's just congenital. This is what what you're born and how your foot is, and it happens, right? We have these collapsed arches. So my perspective is different. Yes, shoes are important. Somebody will try to sell you orthotics at some point in your life. So, but the one thing that's overlooked a lot is actually trying to strengthen that arch. So there's a lot of arch strengthening and stabilizing exercises that are really boring that you just have to do. But if you do those exercises, you will help so much because a flat foot makes you collapse inward on the knees, right? It has a huge implication on knees. So the quick thing to say is the quick answer for this question is you should go to a running store. You should stand on those things so they can at least, at the very least, give you a preliminary check on how your feet are and ask them to fit you with the right shoe for your foot. I think New Balance on Fifth Avenue has that machine and they do it, but you're stuck to New Balance. I know some of these running stores have that machine and then you have options of what shoes to pick. So I would really start there. If you have to do an orthotic, try to do the off-the-shelf ones. Try to get like a good quality orthotic. Also New Balance, there's running ones as well. You could look into Dr. Scholl's, but try to look at a good one. It should be in between like $20 and $50 range. And then the custom orthotics that you get from like podiatrists or some of your doctors are going to be in the $400 to $600 range. It's your choice. Like I'm not one for it. I think if it's really bad, you should do it. It's much more difficult for women than it is for men because compliance, right? Like with an orthotic for men, we have a sneaker, we have a shoe. We just slip it in, slip it out. It's easy. Women wear a variety of shoes. So it's a little more challenging to put that orthotic into like a heel or into a flat or etc. So it's definitely a challenge, but the one takeaway from this is try to strengthen your arch, try to get your arch up as much as you can. And there's ways to do that and then go from there, regardless.
Awesome. Let me see what else we got here.
Sorry for the tantrum. I'm just
it's okay. It's okay. That's why you're here. No problem. That's why you're here. Yeah. It's your show. This has been like 3 years in the making.
Yeah.
Sure. Is the doc willing to join us on the next Jump Rope Live party? Yes, we got to definitely do that.
Yeah. Of course. I need to brush up, but yes, I'm in.
Let's see what else we got here.
Can a tear of a meniscus heal on its own or surgery? Always they don't. Okay, this is a good question. No, I could answer that. So the meniscus tear. Okay, so it all depends on where your meniscus is torn, right? There's two zones. Like the meniscus kind of looks like this, right? So there's the medial and the lateral, which is the inside and outside. It depending on the zone that it's torn in, right? If it's a vascular zone, meaning there's more blood supply to that area, it has a higher chance of healing. If it's a non-vascular zone, the healing will be much slower. And then it also matters the degree of the tear. If it's a full thickness, partial thickness, bucket handle. So it's kind of the luck of the drawer. If you have a minor meniscus injury, generally you could do it without surgery, right? If it's a bucket handle or a traumatic tear, your best outcome is surgery. And then they've done some studies where they've compared surgery versus conservative, meaning like physical therapy. And they did a follow-up after 5 years. And the prognosis is the same. So people that did surgery versus people that didn't do surgery, 5 years after injury, they're kind of in the same place. So that kind of tells us something. The one thing about surgery is that the meniscus is the cartilage that we spoke about earlier. And when they fix the meniscus, they cut away at it. So you're going to lose a little cushion every time they do the surgery. Okay? So then it makes you more, quote unquote, susceptible to an early onset of arthritic changes or knee replacement down the line. Not guaranteed, but it could happen. So again, it all depends on the severity of the injury. Go to the doctor, get an MRI, see how bad the meniscus is torn. If it's minor, I would try to avoid surgery. If it's a serious tear and you're a very active person, you might have to do the surgery.
All right, what we have here. What tips would you have to prevent injury to wrists and forearms?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. Well, again, it depends what you're doing with your wrists and forearms, right? But like, so a lot of times in yoga, when they make you do these different positions, they kind of have you do this thing, and then they go flip. So what they're doing is they're stretching and strengthening your wrists and forearms. And the best thing to do for any injury prevention is to stay strong. If it's strong, it won't break, right? Big, strong trees don't fall. little thin old trees fall. So we're kind of the same, right? If you're strong, if your arm is if your forearm is strong, if your wrist is strong, it'll tolerate your physical activity. Sure, you could fall down and break your wrist. Anything can happen. But in reality, if you're strong, it won't break unless they're strong.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me see. Thoughts on using mats over concrete when the park has no track or rubber surfaces helpful at all? That's actually what I do every day. When I'm jumping in front of my house, I'm jumping on top of a jump rope mat.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely smart. If you can do it, do it. Yeah, you're concrete is a killer. Also, like in New York and probably everywhere, there's also somewhat of a slope angle because the rain has to go down into the whatever the sewers. So you're never even on that surface. So you're always jumping kind of like that. So at least the mat will give you some kind of absorption.
Okay, let's see what else we have here. Ooh. Okay, how much time you have, Dr. Jane? I know I told you 30 minutes.
It's okay, don't worry about it. I'll stick around for a few more minutes, no problem. Yeah, so Doc's thoughts on knee pain coupled with shin pain. Okay, that's a great question. Well, again, what is the source of the pain? Shin pain, if it's a shin splint, it's more likely due to tight calves. So stretch your calves, stretch that Achilles, make sure you're doing some posterior stuff. And again, knee pain is so big. It depends on what is causing that knee pain, right? It could be a jumper's knee. It could be IT band syndrome. You could have a tear. You could have a microtrauma. There's so many things. If something doesn't feel normal, like just go to the doctor, get it checked out, talk to them, see what they think. If you need a study, go for the MRI, go for the X-ray, go for the ultrasound. Don't be averse to it. Let them find out what the problem is. The quicker we find out, the easier it is to treat. But shin pain, definitely do some stretching of the calves. If you want to work on that anterior tibialis or shin splint muscle, you could kind of sit on your knees and kind of bend into it. That's a stretch to do. You could do some active recovery. You could roll it with a softball. You could do tissue work on the anterior tibialis. But stretching the calves might just solve the problem.
I think that's very key because I know I've been jumping since I was like little, and when I got into like my late 20s, early 30s, like I started having knee pain, and the beginning of it was because of tight calves. Because I was like, okay, I'm young, don't need to stretch, and very tight calves will lead to that knee pain. So
yeah, for sure. What else we got? Did we answer? Oh, here we go. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, that's a good one. So will jumping help make the arthritis in the knee go away or make it worse? So really great question. It really depends on the severity of the arthritis, right? So look, if it's very, unfortunately there's no cure for arthritis. The only cure for arthritis is a knee replacement. How severe is the arthritis? How much cartilage do you still have in your knee? The benefits of jump rope will definitely have much more long-term benefits on your entire system, right? So if you're going to sacrifice a knee to have low blood pressure, not less obese, right? Better cardiovascular health, I think it's worth the sacrifice for some arthritis. However, if you strengthen the knee, if you do that strengthening, aside from the jumper, if you do the strengthening and stabilizing, the supporting cast, as Bernadette says, it should definitely help. It should definitely help you tolerate that activity. So we're designed to jump. We're built to jump. So if you can do it, I encourage you to jump.
And in transparency, I deal with both arthritis and a meniscus tear.
Yeah, exactly. Jump any kind of physical activity in the lower extremity leads to blood flow to that space, right? And we heal by having blood flow in that area. So, if you're getting blood flow to the knee, it's good. It's a good thing. Somebody asked about stretching. I think we missed that question. So stretching before jumping is just as important as stretching afterwards. That is an excellent point. So I'll touch on stretching. The most ideal situation, right? If you could do it in a perfect world, the perfect world would be to warm up, right? Just a little warm up, jumping jacks, running in place, something to get a little blood flow going, stretch, perform the activity, and then stretch after the activity. That is your best. That's the gold standard. I know we're pressed for time. I know sometimes we just go into it. Believe me, I know this, and I still do it wrong. So if you could do a little bit of stretching before and some stretching after, it's great. Just remember, if you're gonna if you're gonna overstretch a cold muscle, you could injure it. So if you're gonna stretch deep, if you plan on stretching deep before your activity, just warm up a little bit. At least give it a little bit of a warm up, a few minutes of warm up. That's super important.
Yeah. Okay. So, but you basically answered like the majority of the questions here. So once again, everyone, I would like to thank Dr. Jane for coming on and talking about this very important topic. If you have any additional questions, comments, or concerns, you can always reach out to Precision Care Therapy. Better yet, if you are in New York City and you need help, be sure to reach out to Precision Care. Once again, they're in Brooklyn, they're in Manhattan. I trust them very much. I've been using them since 2018. A few of my friends have been to their facility as well. So I have nothing negative to say about it. And if you have a provider that's willing to come on and do something like this and just be real with you, honest, and talk to you, then those are the people for you. So do you have any last?
It's my pleasure, honestly. Like I enjoyed this a lot. So anytime, anytime anyone has any questions, anything at all, we're available. And thank you so much. And thank you for all that you do for all these people, getting people up and active and jumping and motivating them and helping them, physically as well as mentally. You're an incredible person. I tell you all the time. What you do is really admirable and amazing, and I respect you so much for it. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to talk to some of your followers, and thank you for doing whatever you do for everyone that you do it for. So
you very much
we appreciate it. It goes without saying.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Oh, thanks, CJ. Thanks for the presents. Bye, y'all. You know what? Oh, okay.
I'm here. I'm already.